We'll call this meeting to order of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. If everyone could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And may we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Morrow?
Here.
Ms. Drumheller?
Here.
Mr. Renzi?
Present.
And Mr. Halloran? Here. Thank you.
And Ms. Webster is excused. And we still
I forgot to mention Ms. White is on Zoom.
Ms. White is on Zoom now?
I do not have her on Zoom yet.
Okay, so we'll wait till she joins. If you'd just let us know when she joins. Thank you.
Will do.
Announcements and agenda modifications. Does anyone have any modifications to the agenda for today? I don't hear any. Approval of minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes of our last meeting on June 24? Does anyone have any changes or modifications? And if not, can I have a motion?
I'll give you a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, Mr. Renzi had made a motion to accept.
Second.
Mr. Morrow, second.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, they are approved. Public input. Do we have any public input? Okay, we don't have anyone here. No one on Zoom, correct?
Not at this time.
Okay, so we will move into unfinished business. Item A. Mr. Blankenship.
I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. Item A, I just wanted to keep Riverview Park planning on the agenda just as, so we can update you as we move forward with the planning. We can announce that we were notified, I believe it was Wednesday of last week or Thursday, that we did receive the large land and water conservation grant for $1.5 million.
For Riverview?
For Riverview. So that's a good starting point for this redevelopment. But as far as the plans go, the consultant is still massaging them, and we will have them to the public at some point this fall.
Okay. That's great. Congratulations, because that's, no asking, no getting, right?
Yeah, right.
And Bryant Court?
Bryant Court, it's on the CIP schedule to be replaced in '25. So we've already started getting some proposals from playground companies. So that's why it's on there now, and later on there'll be an item to approve or to authorize
We'll have some
the submission
equipment
of a grant
sketches,
for that,
et cetera.
For Bryant Court, yeah. So again, that's now. We have an issue with Friendship Park Playground back here that we've had to close it. So we may be in the position of juggling the timeline between Bryant Court and Friendship, but we won't know that until later. But we are going to go ahead and remove that playground pending the ability to replace it.
So Bryant is still open,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So we have, because Mr. Renzi said he saw bunches of piles of stuff in the back.
Gravel or rock or something?
Gravel.
Oh yeah, they were putting gravel in the parking lot.
Oh, in the, okay.
Filling material, just to stabilize the parking lot.
Okay.
The backstops at Barber Street are under design, the designer's working on them now. Special event policy discussion. We will go back to the council here in the near future to give them some options to think about for amending our special event policy as it relates to for-profit events.
So is that based on some of the discussion we had in the
Yes.
committee a couple of months ago about fees, et cetera?
Right,
All right.
and at the council level as well.
Okay.
Born Learning Trail, I've got a video. I uploaded the video that I sent you guys after the June meeting.
Yes.
I can play it so that we're sure that everybody has seen it. It is from the Fellsmere facility, so it's apples
Has
to
anybody
apples.
not watched that video?
I've seen it.
You've seen it? Have you seen the video? Does anyone mind if we don't see the video? Okay, so everyone's watched it,
Great.
so. We're educable. We actually follow instructions when we get them every
Okay,
now and
just-
then.
Being prepared.
So where is that project right now?
It will be completed in October. I don't remember the date right off the top of my head, but United Way has, I think FP&L is going to be the service organization that does the installation and does all the work that has to be done for.
Well, they have kind of like an opening or a celebration when that's all done, so that
It'll be
Okay.
it's a day in Saturday. It's already been set. I don't recall it off the top of my head. It's one Saturday in October, and I
Okay.
don't remember which one that is.
All right.
But I can report back to the board.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
so we can kind of mark our calendars. That'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like a good thing. So, does anyone have any questions to Richard for unfinished business? Okay, so moving on to committee member park updates. So you should have in your packet the current Adopt a Park program list of who is assigned to which park.
This is what it looks like in the
I
packet.
thought I saw it in here. It's probably
is.
behind, it's the last piece of your packet. So we have 5 parks that need to be allocated for oversight and that would be Kildare, Schumann Lake Park, Schumann Drive Park, the George Street Park, Bryant Street, and Blossom Street. So I guess this is probably a good time to also ask the members that have allocations if they want to change it up, if they want to release a park and try something different. This is probably a good time to do it. Is Joanne on yet?
She has not joined as of yet.
Okay. So does anyone have any input on the Adopt a Park?
I can add Blossom to my 3,
Okay.
close to it.
Okay. So Mr. Morrow will take Blossom Street. And do you know any of these parks that we're talking about?
I don't frequent any of those.
Okay.
But just go over which ones again, or
So
I saw
the
George
ones that
Street.
are allocated, the ones that say Mr. Denise
Yeah.
and Mr. Allen are the parks that need to be reallocated. Mr. Morrow has accepted Blossom Street Park to add. So we have George Street is right off Barber.
Barbara.
Is that one that you could take?
I could. I know where it is, so
Okay.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
It's nice if you know where it
Yeah,
is. Okay, so we're going to give George Street to Paul.
Thank you.
Schumann and Kildare, I think those should be together or no?
We could, Madam Chair, we could allocate those to Mr. Brejo. If Mr. Halloran, if we're trying to keep at least around 5 for each member, we can just move those to Mr. Brejo, whatever Mr.
Okay, so
Halloran
let's
doesn't
do
want.
Schumann Drive and Kildare to Daniel Abrejo, which leaves Bryant Street. Would you like to take Bryant Street also?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you, actually, Mr. Allen is in the audience, so he can give you an update at the end of the meeting and tell you what his take is on that park. Okay,
So I have 2?
yeah, so you'll have 2, and Mr. Brejo will have 2, and you just want, Mr. Moore, you just want that in addition, right? You keep your others? Okay. So I think we got it.
Okay.
Are you okay with yours?
I love my parks.
I know. All right, Mr. And Miss White, it says Mr. White, but it's Miss White. I'm sure that she'll be fine with hers also. So I think we got that set. Anybody have anything else? Are you okay with those? All right, so that takes care of committee park. Does anyone have updates on their parks? Mr. Morrow, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Mr. Renzi?
Not now.
And you don't have any yet? And my parks are doing well. I just told you about the bubblers, but did you get an opportunity to look at the benches in front of Krabby Bill's to see if they potentially could be moved over?
I know I have not, but I'm sure they could be moved. I just don't know if there's any historical, not that they're historic, but if there's any reason why we shouldn't move them. But we're going to do a walkthrough there on Friday morning. We'll take a look at that. And
Okay.
determine.
I had a couple of community members call me because we walk the river often, and since Krabby Bill's was closed, they said there's a couple of benches available there that they thought maybe could be closer to the bathroom area for folks to be waiting closer to the sidewalk, because there's really not very much opportunity to sit in that area versus just having them in a place that is probably going to be cordoned off, I would think, once we get something going there. That was just something to look into.
But we'll take a look at that Friday.
Okay, thank you. Upcoming events at Riverview Park.
Really, we're at a slow period right now, so we don't really have anything upcoming until, of any significance, until September.
Well, it's hot. Even the squirrels are sweating in Riverview Park right now. It's tough. New business, we'll move to item 8, which is the Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program grant for the swing and bench.
Okay, so one of the requirements for Florida, we call it FRDAP, Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program, is that we have to take the idea to the advisor, to a citizen board for discussion. So this is a $50,000 non-matching, meaning we don't have to put any money up with it, grant to do the construction for swing and bench. We're doing the planning and permitting now. That's already under contract. This money would be to do the actual work. And again, it's non-matching, so it's and typically easier to get. There's a lot of money out there for the.
So we're talking about the area across from where the motel used to
Yes.
be, the swing and bench there. Is that so the grant that is being applied for would hold that till the budget for 25-26 or 24-25?
The next year's.
The next year budget that
Right,
we'll
but
be
then we have
discussing.
3 years to complete it.
Okay,
So it'll be available in 25,
okay,
fiscal year 25, which starts October 1st.
okay.
So the timing works out really well.
I'll wait till we get to the budget to ask any other question about that.
And then item B is same grant, but for the Bryant Court Park Playground and amenities. We have money budgeted for the playground, but that budget was put together several years ago. We need some, as we learned at Creative Playground, we'll need some additional for things, mulch and waste baskets and that kind of stuff. And the playground.
Okay, so that would go into the fiscal year 25 budget also.
Yes.
So all right,
And then item C is just to let you know that the swing and bench shoreline stabilization is under design and permitting. Before we did anything there, we would bring all of that back to the advisory board for review before we did it, any upgrades or anything like that.
well, it'd be really nice if we got all that money in addition to whatever we're budgeted, right? Yeah.
Just a reminder, we need to take public input on each one of these individual items.
Oh, okay.
It's under new business.
Well, let me roll that back a little bit.
Thank you.
So is there any public input on item A for the grant for the swing and bench park on the waterfront? Is there no one seen here? Is there anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
Thank you so much. So On item B, is there any public input on the grant for Bryant Court Playground? Is there anyone on Zoom?
No, at this time.
Thank you. And for the Swing and Bench Park shoreline stabilization, does anyone have any public input? Zoom?
No one at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Benton. And now to item D, which is the 2025 proposed operating budget.
And I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Benton to give you guys a,
The Budget King, huh?
Sorry, I apologize. My allergies are acting up, so might be a little tough to talk, but I'll get through it. So in your agenda packets, you have the first page that you have in your packet should be the projected balances for the recreation impact fee account. It should show as page 191 on the bottom of it. And with that, I just, sorry. I just want to point out, if you look at the very bottom of fiscal year 23-24, it shows an ending fund balance in this as $51,576. So that shows that this account, so if you go back to prior year budgets, we had budgeted for revenues in this account to be in the range of 170 to 180,000. We get a portion, or we get a payment every time a CO is issued for a new home. They have to pay into the recreation impact fee for the city. So if you look back 22-23, we were substantially lower than that. We were at 99,000. This year we're anticipated to be around 125,000. And so next year we conservatively, we know there's some development happening, but I think, you know, keeping it conservative and staying at 130 is a reasonable number. So taking all that into account, we did move a couple projects out of this fund. If you look back at last year's budget, we had the Swing and Bench Park was budgeted out of this fund. We've moved that to DST funding. And Barber Street Baseball Backstops was also out of this fund. We moved that into DST so that we could maintain a balance here. If not, we would have been into a negative.
Yeah.
And so then that's where we look at that. It includes your park improvements that is allocated to this committee to use $20,000. And then next year we have $60,000 for the Bryant Court Playground replacement. And then if you go forward, we've got future playground replacements as well in future years allocated to this account. So I just wanted to highlight that because rec impact fees, a lot of people think it's an account that has plenty of money and we can use it anywhere. It's not reality. Reality is that account is low on funds and we're trying to be the best stewards of that money as we can. So any questions on the recreation impact fees? All right, so now I'll go to, in your packet, I guess we should probably start from the back going to the front. I apologize. So we'll go page 80, then 167, 168, 169.
Okay, so we're starting on 80, which is
Yeah, we're just
actually
gonna
the
flip them
budget.
over because
Okay.
that'll be the best kind of course of action to look at these.
Okay.
So this year's capital budget, to be funded out of the general fund, we've got an enclosed trailer for mowing crew. So I know that Richard had given you all a little bit of information that the city is going to look at taking over the CRA maintenance in-house. That includes Riverview Park and the mowing all the way down the entire CRA in the right-of-way areas. That's currently in a separate account that we utilize CRA money and stormwater dollars for that, but we're going to be taking that over within the general fund within parks. So you'll see when we get to the bottom, we'll be getting some money from CRA, but I just wanted to highlight that as well. So we have two enclosed trailers that are coming out of general fund. One's a mowing crew and one's a special events trailer. A dump trailer in the amount of $12,000. A sweeper attachment for one of our tractors that we need to, in order to sweep and collect debris. Community center upgrades. So what we're looking at there, Richard, do you want to speak a little bit better on that? Because
well, with the community center upgrades, we'll redo the floor. We will, there is a if you're facing the community center to the left, there is a concrete slab, a good-sized concrete slab that has nothing on it. We'll turn that into a space, a usable space by putting a shade structure up there. And then just general interior upgrades. We've done a lot this year. We painted it, painted the outside. We're just going to, the floor replacement or repair or upgrade is going to be the major item that we're going to do. But it's in dire need of upgrade.
So then going forward, and you all can stop me at any time if you have questions on any of these.
So the budget line items of the trailer, the dump, and the sweeper are in the CRA maintenance equipment, throwing that 123.5 into our budget?
No, I jumped ahead of myself before I looked down, so I apologize. So those are for our current parks crews. The items when we get to the bottom with the CRA will be to equip the new crews,
Okay.
or the new crew that we're hoping to get. So I apologize. I shouldn't have jumped ahead of myself. I realized that as I was starting to go through, but I wasn't going to stop at that time.
I'm just trying to reconcile in my,
So all the items that are purchased up top under general fund are for current staffing and equipment needs.
okay.
So then going on to baseball safety netting, as you all know, we're in design right now, engineering and design for baseball backstop, redoing the baseball backstops at Barber Street. Those are well past due. If you go out there, I mean, they're rusted, they're hanging on, barely. So this baseball safety netting will be what we use to cover the bleacher areas. So when foul balls come over, you've got kids, parents sitting in the bleachers, the netting will stop it from hitting them in those confined areas in which we have the spectator areas. We currently have netting there, but it needs to be replaced, so that's why we budgeted for it. Smart irrigation systems. This is just a general item that we're going to start to evaluate and develop irrigation standards to be used throughout the city so that we can more effectively use water and, kind of move more to the water conservation element. And this will be an integral role in this. We've budgeted this out over many years because we have a lot of irrigation within our parks. So we're going to start that process next year of kind of getting all that kicked off. And I know this year, I think Richard had started the process at the dog park. They were doing an evaluation there, and then we'll continue to go through different parks as we go forward in future years.
So the 5-year plan is to have all of the irrigation in all of our existing parks on technologically enhanced?
Upgraded.
The articulating drivable boom lift, this will assist us with tree trimming, light replacement, anything we got to get up, really high on that we can't get our vehicle. We have a bucket truck that we can get into a lot of places, but this will help us get into other places that we can't. That's in 25, 26. And in replacement of parks restroom doors, that's in 25, 26, and 26, 27. So that'll be looking at some of our restroom facilities throughout our parks, replacing those restroom doors. A lot of those are on the automatic locks and unlocks, and they've just had wear and tear over the years that they need to be replaced. Landscape dump body truck is in 26, 27. This is really a need in parks because really the biggest piece of machinery that we have is our dump trailer. So it's a small, you can't get a lot of material in there when they're out trimming trees or doing landscaping work. So this will allow them to get a lot more material in there and be more efficient so that we don't have to have, borrow a dump trailer from the cemetery and kind of, that way we have 2 crews going and it's just back and forth nonstop. This will give us a lot more capacity. Our standard 0-turn mowers out in 26, 27, 15-foot bush hog mower in 27, 28, and then looking at our sprayer spreader in 28, 29, and another 0-turn mower. So we did a lot of those replacements.
Sorry.
That's okay. We did a lot of those replacements over the last 3 or 4 years. So by the time we get out to 27, 28, it's going to be time to start to replace some of those.
Replacing equipment.
Yes.
I did have 2 contacts in the past month for, actually it was in relation to Filbert Park, that when they're mowing so close to the water. They actually sent me a couple of pictures that all of the clippings were floating in the water, and it's so low now that the birds have nowhere to kind of hide out. So it was right after it had been mowed, and I walk by there a lot, but I don't seem to catch them when they're mowing. But they were pictures of all of the grass clippings were just kind of floating in the water there for about a foot from the lowest shoreline. So, and that's unusual because I never have seen that, so I don't know if it was just the person doing it at that time, but they do leave a little bit for wildlife to kind of hide in, right, generally?
Well, as long as we don't address, as long as we don't do work on the littoral shelf, that's where all the eggs are laid and all the wildlife.
Yeah,
The birds may not hide in there, but other, aquatic wildlife does.
yeah.
And we don't mow that. But I don't, I don't know why the
Actually, it was
clippings.
periwinkle, not filbert,
Yeah.
around the
Yeah,
periwinkle pond.
The resident contacted us as well.
Yeah.
And with pictures.
And I walk there very frequently, so I'll make a point to try to look for that and take pictures if I can duplicate what they did last time. It could be a one-time event too. You just never know.
Any other questions on the general fund capital? All right, moving on to what's funded out of recreation impact fees. We discussed those earlier in regards to playground improvements and then also the park improvement money that is allocated to this committee as well with that. Moving on to discretionary sales tax. So this is really where we were looking at our Riverview Park improvements. If you remember last year, we had budgeted $1 million to replace the splash pad. Well, part of this whole grant process is now we're looking at a master plan for Riverview Park and what we're going to do there in that location. So we did fund out 3 years, but that also does kind of show our match for the grant, the 1.5 million that we just received. So that's where the $3 million number comes from. But I will say that I know Richard has been actively pursuing other grants that we potentially could use as the match for that 1.5 million. So the city has to match 1.5, but if there's areas where we can use that as matching and not have to use city dollars, we'll do that. So we are applying for different grants for that.
Brian?
Yes.
What did you have in mind for Riverview?
So we have not, we haven't advanced far enough to really have any specific details. We're at a conceptual level right now with our consultant, Kimley Horn. They came back to us with a little bit of a conceptual plan of about 50%. We provided comments back to them. The next stage will be setting up a public meeting to introduce the conceptual plan and get feedback on that. Because the first kind of public workshop we had a lot of things in it, right? It's kind of overwhelming. You see all this stuff. So now they took that data and they developed a conceptual plan for the park. And so now they're kind of tweaking that based on staff's comments. And then we'll bring back, I think they're going to bring back 2 different conceptual plans for the public to comment on.
Oh, very good.
So, I mean, there'll be different elements. I know we're looking at a permanent band shell to be down there, moving some elements around the playground, closing off of Harrison Street, joining those 2 parcels, improvements in the parking lot, the overflow parking lot, looking at improvements of the landscaping in the grass area within the park. What exactly does that mean at this time? I don't know. But we have kind of started asked them to look into different elements on what we could potentially do in that park. Because I know I was down there July 4th, and you walk around in the park and it's just your ankles turn black from all the dirt because we can't sustain grass growth underneath all those oak trees.
Yeah.
Which oak trees are a great thing. We're not looking to get rid of oak trees, don't get me wrong. But we need to figure something out as far as a turf or landscaping or something that's more efficient that can withhold the traffic that we get down there down in that oak area during our busiest time.
Okay.
When we had the public workshops, I thought it was a really good plan to try to locate the children activities all together. So like the splash park with the playground, so that a parent you could have kids enjoying both areas. So, I mean, there's a lot of moving around that could happen. So we kind of until those plans are more cemented? Is it just kind of keep it as it is and not do anything until we move into the next stage of actually having a plan?
Yeah, I mean, right now, like I said, we've seen some very basic conceptual. We really haven't seen much more than you all have. They just came back with some conceptual looks at it, and we provided feedback on those. So I know that they're actively working on those, and I think they'll have a couple different options that you'll see that combine the kids' areas together. Where that is, I don't, those things are moving parts. The veterans area, what do we do there? Do we maintain it where it is? Move it, kind of things like that are all kind of things that they're looking at. Not to say anything is set in stone at this point, but a lot of things are being considered at this time, and it'll all be driven by the public. That's one of the things that we're going to be with this park.
Do you have an expectation that the public workshops will be before, sometime this year?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Okay,
In the next few months.
okay.
Yeah, our plan is to have a finalized Riverview Park master plan by the end of this year.
It would
Not
be
this fiscal year, but this calendar year.
the calendar year, which would be great if we think about our celebration in December, the parade, and our volunteer of the year. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a conceptual plan for Riverview Park that could be rolled out at that same time, that we could have a little booth and show people, like, look at what's going to be happening to your park?
And that's kind of been our goal. I didn't want to put that on the record, but that is our goal,
Yeah,
to have it ready for the Centennial weekend.
that's cool. Great. Thank you.
Now moving on, I know I've mentioned earlier that we are having some items funded that fall within Parks and Recreation out of CRA. This is where the CRA maintenance equipment. So what we have basically done is we've requested 2 additional staff members plus all the equipment needed. So it's a brand new truck, trailer, mowers, weed eaters, all the equipment that we would need to be able to maintain and operate the maintenance at Riverview Park, going north all the way down to Jackson Street. So that would eliminate the third-party contractor that we currently have, and CRA would fund the equipment on a one-time basis with the capital, and they are contributing to the staffing as well with that because it is a benefit to the CRA. We've got Main Street shoreline stabilization you see here, and also the boat ramp dredging design are all out of CRA. Those fall within the CRA district, and it is a benefit to the CRA for those projects. Main Street boat ramp dredging construction, it's a low number there, but we're hopefully going to get some grant funding and kind of continue to advance that project as well, because that boat ramp really needs to be dredged. It's really shallow in there, and we have to consistently every couple weeks take a backhoe down there and dig out the ramp portion. But even once you get your boat launched, it's shallow going all the way out to the end of the pier.
Oh, wow.
And the last one is a twin piers dry line fire suppression system. So this was an item that was identified as we're going along with the engineering and design for the law enforcement dock at the South Twin Pier. We have to have a dry line. It has to be run down there for fire suppression. So if there happened to be a fire on one of the boats at the end of that dock, we've got to have a charged, well, it's uncharged, but it's a dry line that can actively charge and get fire suppression to the end of the dock. So we're looking at that. We've applied for a grant for that, but we are looking at CRA to assist with the funding for that as well. So the rest of the pages were all just kind of details of everything I just discussed. Do you all have any questions with any of these capital projects?
So the cemetery is now under the purview of Parks and Recreation? Because
Yeah, so it always, well, it has been for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's just the reason you're seeing it is because it fell on that one page.
Okay.
So, yeah, the Parks Department kind of starts right at the bottom of that page. But yeah, that's the reason you're kind of seeing it, because we do these CIP, we just continue to roll them along to save paper, so that's why you're seeing that. And I think even if you look at the very last page, you'll get a little information on a backhoe and a crew vehicle for stormwater fund. So you got to see a little bit of stormwater and a little bit of cemetery.
So it looks like the the city is really looking to limit third-party activity and be accountable so that there's better control of what's going on in the parks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, especially, and I'll speak on Riverview Park, it just comes down to a usage mechanism, right? So if we have something down there every weekend, residents, not saying they get tired of it, but it's the same old thing every single weekend. So kind of starting to spread that out a little bit so that the festivals that we sponsor, and then also the ones that we support from a city that we have agreements with, those can be as successful as possible. And then also just looking at the general maintenance and landscaping of that park. I mean, that park, it takes a toll. I mean, it really does. And if you go down there and, go down there with a mower now and you're basically blowing dirt around.
Yeah.
So that's really our biggest thing, and that's what we're trying to capture, hopefully, with this master plan, is that we can get a sustainable product down there that can last a while and be better presentable for the public and also all our events.
So is there any public input on the budget items that were discussed? I don't have to go to each one, right? Okay. Is there anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
Is Miss White on Zoom?
She is still not joined.
Absent without leave.
Okay. We're just marking her absent for this session. Do y'all have any budget questions, any comments?
Yeah, I have a question here.
Okay, Mr. Morrow.
So I see our budget goes out 5-6 years, and I'm looking for the thing that says new pickleball courts. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
It would not be a budget meeting if Mr. Morrow did not bring up where are the pickleball carts. I'm just saying.
So the actual question is,
When is it? Yeah.
how do we go about injecting this into the future budgets?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of we have some aging infrastructure as far as the community center and looking at other areas, Riverview Park and those things that are aging. Those have kind of risen to the priority level. And then when you really look at the direction of council and the director from them has really been roads, stormwater, those areas are major concerns for all of our residents. So taking all that into account, pickleball didn't just go by the wayside. We're not showing it right now this year. But it is a discussion that Richard and I have had. It's a tough one not to say we can't get grant funding for it. If you look at most of these items that we have this year in this year's budget are all things that we're going after grant funds. Even some of our maintenance equipment, Richard just told me the other day, he's going for a grant for some of our maintenance equipment. The reality is we're setting ourselves up for a little bit of areas of concern, not concern, but roadway paving and stormwater have been the priorities, and that's been a direction that's been given. So not to say we're forgetting about Parks Recreation, because we got a lot of things here, but I think pickleball is probably the next level down. So we've got our priority levels that are shown in this budget. Pickleball is the next one that is shown as kind of I don't know that necessarily reached the top priority yet, but it's close. So I think you'll see probably in the next year or so that pickleball project will start to show up in the budget. I just don't want to commit to it right here today that it's in the next 5 years. It could show up next year and be in 2 years after that. But it's just whenever we can allocate funds to it.
Yeah, I don't see it as being a high priority at the moment. But, when we're planning out 4 or 5 years out, and this is, when we started talking about this a while back, it takes several years before something actually happens. And if we don't get it into a budget,
That would be a perfect opportunity for us to expand and add those elements. You'll have pickleball courts in the north part of the city, pickleball courts in the southern part of the city. So I think that's kind of the elements that are coming into play. There's numerous factors on it. Funding is one, but also I will say the airport, they've got a lot of projects and a lot of people are interested in building and bring in manufacturing and things like that on the airport property that are in the works right now.
Have we heard anything else from the county?
No, sir.
No, I didn't think so. But I had one other question. I don't know if you can answer it or not. When we talk these impact fees for new homes, is there a dollar amount attached to that?
It's funny because Richard asked me the same thing, I think it was Thursday or Friday, and I didn't get him the answer. I'll get you the answer and we'll get it to you all by the end of the day tomorrow.
Thank you.
The impact fees just don't seem like they're enough. It seems kind of low for all of the stuff, but I know we only get our piece, correct? Out of
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, I mean, it's not, we used a lot for the pickleball project, was mainly funded by rec impact fees. And then last year, Creative Playground really took a lot out of that one as well.
Yeah.
So those two projects within the last, 4 years, we did pickleball, and last year with Creative, or 3 years pickleball, last year Creative. They've been on the range of somewhere of $1.1 million out of rec impact fees. So 1.1, 1.2 million. So when you start to look at that, those two projects took a lot of money out of that account.
yes.
So that's really where I think it's been kind of brought down, and we just got to be conscious of what we're bringing in to the building department and be better on what we expect our revenues to be.
Okay. Okay, does anyone else have any more questions or
I got
comments?
just one quick question. So I live in a community of a lot of golden age people, you know, like myself. And so sometimes it comes up, who do they contact about that cemetery if they want to get a plot or something like that?
Yeah, they can come here to City Hall. They can go to the cemetery. We've got staff there.
Oh, there
Monday
is
through Friday.
staff at the cemetery?
We have staff there. They can go out there and see the plots. Anytime they go to purchase a plot at the cemetery or call it a niche or anything like that, they come here to City Hall. The clerk's office handles all of that process.
Oh, I see, okay.
But you can, they can go through Richard, but they can also go straight to the cemetery and go out there and meet with those guys. There's a building there on the east side of the cemetery that those guys are more than happy to help look around and see
Yeah.
if anything interesting.
Next time we have a meeting there, I'll let them know.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any items for the next agenda? Does anyone have anything they want to see discussed on the next agenda?
Madam Chair,
Oh,
if I
but we
could,
talk about the date.
yeah, all right. So back in December, you voted on the calendar, which had the next meeting August 19th, I believe. I had inadvertently put the 26th down, but my question is, do we want to keep the 19th or do you want to go to the 26th? The 26th would be our regular day.
The 26th would be,
Yeah, I believe it's the 26th.
yes.
To staff,
So
it doesn't matter either way.
I'm fine with it being August 26th. Does anyone have any? I kind of already have that marked on my calendar too.
Is that a Monday?
Yes. Yes.
No.
No. So we could, you want it August 19th? Do you
It
want to
doesn't
change
matter
it?
to
It
staff.
doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. So does anyone have a preference? August 26th or August 19th? 26th. 26th?
Fine.
Okay.
The 26th it is. Okay. So-
Well, we probably ought to take a motion and a vote since it was
May I have a
voted
motion?
on before.
I motion that we have our next meeting on August 26th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. So, if we have no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Ooh.